George Herbert was born in 1593, and he died in 1633 at the age of just 39. But George Herbert is one of the greatest religious poets of all time, and over the centuries Christians, including Charles Spurgeon, Richard Baxter and C.S. Lewis, have engaged with and enjoyed his profound poetry. I'm not a poetry expert, far from it. I'm not really even a poetry enthusiast. But that's one of the things that makes George Herbert so special, that even someone like me can engage with and enjoy his poetry. And this Easter, today on Good Friday, and then on Easter Sunday, I'm reading and reflecting on a George Herbert poem. This is the second reflection, and today's poem is called The Thanksgiving. This poem actually reflects back on another poem called The Sacrifice. In The Sacrifice, Jesus was crowned as the King of Grief. The repeated refrain in that poem from the lips of Jesus is, "Was ever grief like mine? Was ever grief like mine?" And Jesus says that again and again and again. And then the sacrifice ends with Jesus saying, "Never was grief like mine." Jesus is the King of Grief. But in the Thanksgiving, Jesus is now crowned as the King of Love. It's a slightly strange poem because George Herbert challenges Jesus to a love contest. George Herbert acknowledges that Jesus is the King of Grief. In view of the cross, there's no disputing that. George Herbert can't repay Jesus by offering him his grief. But perhaps he can repay Jesus by offering him his love. It sounds silly, but I think that's the point. If we think we can repay Jesus, if we think our love for him repays him for his love for us, we're being silly. And at the end of this poem, there's no disputing, in view of the cross, that Jesus is also the King of Love. His love for us beats our love for him, hands down. And that's what makes Good Friday so good. And so let's read the poem. This is The Thanksgiving by George Herbert. O King of Grief, a title strange yet true, to thee of all kings only due. O King of Wounds, how shall I grieve for thee, who in all grief preventest me? Shall I weep blood? Why, thou hast wept such store, that all thy body was one door. Shall I be scourged, flouted, boxed, sold? 'Tis but to tell the tale is told. My God, why dost thou part from me? Was such a grief as cannot be. Shall I then sing, skipping thy doleful story, and side with thy triumphant glory? Shall thy strokes be my stroking, thorns my flower, thy rod my posy, cross my bower? But how then shall I imitate thee, and copy thy fair though bloody hand? Surely I will revenge me on thy love, and try who shall victorious prove. If thou dost give me wealth, I will restore all back unto thee by the poor. If thou dost give me honour, men shall see the honour doth belong to thee. I will not marry, or if she be mine, she and her children shall be thine. My bosom friend, if he blaspheme thy name, I will tear thence his love and fame. One half of me being gone, the rest I give unto some chapel, die or live. As for thy passion, but of that anon, when with the other I have done. For thy predestination I'll contrive, that 3 years hence, if I survive, I'll build a spittle, or mend common ways, but mend mine own without delays. Then I will use the works of thy creation, as if I'd used them but for fashion. The world and I will quarrel, and the year shall not perceive that I am here. My music shall find thee, and every string shall have his attribute to sing, that all together may accord in thee, and prove one God, one harmony. If thou shalt give me wit, it shall appear. If thou hast given it me, 'tis here. Nay, I will read thy book, and never move till I have found therein thy love. Thy art of love, which I'll turn back on thee. O my dear Saviour, victory! Then for thy passion, I will do for that. Alas, my God, I know not what. The Thanksgiving starts with George Herbert addressing Jesus as the King of Grief. O King of Grief, O King of Wounds. And in lines 3 and 4 he says, How shall I grieve for thee, who in all grief preventest me? And the word preventest means to go ahead or to go before. George Herbert is saying, when it comes to grief, Jesus, you're ahead of me, you're before me. Have I wept blood like you, he says. In the Garden of Gethsemane, you sweated drops of blood. And since your whole body sweated, your whole body became a door for sweating blood. Or have I been scourged, flouted, boxed, sold like you, Jesus? Or have I been forsaken by God like you? No, I can't get one over you when it comes to grief. Never was grief like yours, Jesus. You're the King of grief. And so in lines 17 and 18 he says, let's have a love contest. Your grief might beat mine, but my love might beat yours, and I think I can prove it. And in the next few lines, that's what George Herbert tries to do. He says, if you give me wealth, Jesus, I'll give it all back to you by giving it to the poor. If you give me honour, I'll make sure everyone sees that the honour is really yours. If I get married, Jesus, my wife and children will be yours. One half of me being gone, the rest I give unto some chapel, die or live. I'm giving myself to the church, Jesus, in life and in death. And at this point, George Herbert thinks he's winning the love contest. And then in line 29, the cross comes into his mind. As for thy passion, but of that anon. Or in other words, I'll come back to that when I've finished proving my love. And so George Herbert carries on. I'll build a spittle or a hospital. My music shall find thee, and every string shall have his attribute to sing. My music, Jesus, proves that my love beats yours. Or line 45, I'll read thy book and never move till I have found therein thy love. My Bible reading, Jesus, proves that my love beats yours. And at this point in line 48, George Herbert declares, Oh, my dear Saviour, victory, my love beats yours, look at all the proof. But then in line 49, the cross comes to his mind again. Then for thy passion, I will do for that. Alas, my God, I know not what. Or in other words, when I think about the cross, I know that my love can't beat your love. It doesn't even come close. What could I ever do that compares to the cross? Jesus, I can't get one over you when it comes to love. Never was love like yours. You're the King of love. It's Good Friday today. And today isn't a day to think about what we've done for Jesus, or what we're doing for him, or what we want to do for him. Today is a day to reflect on what he's done for us. Even if you really love Jesus, he really loves you much, much more than that. He loves us so much that he took up our pain and bore our suffering. He loves us so much that he was pierced, stricken, afflicted, punished, crushed, and wounded for us. Jesus wins the love contest. He and he alone is the King of love. Let's